Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Untempered. Today, I'm sitting down with Dan Wanis, the co-founder of Carney Store, a very successful entrepreneur, and a very interesting person because I just met you recently and we were doing a video for Carney Store and you told me your story and I was like, I need to have you on my podcast.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about today. We want to talk about you.
Okay.
How are you today?
I'm well, and you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So to give a little background story, I'm involved with your company, Carney Store. So it's an amazing company where you guys have such a great platform for, I don't know, butchery, but it's like high quality, one of a kind, unique, antibiotic-free meats. I don't know. It's fucking delicious.
Clean label. You can call it clean label. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've been working with you guys for 2 years, and then I finally got to meet you. You're the co-founder. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. And I want to dive into your brain. I want to know what makes Dan, how you got here, because a lot of things you told me I found super interesting. First of all, you didn't major in anything food related.
No, not at all. No.
I want to know the context behind the person you are today. I want to know a little bit about your background and how does someone get into the food business the way you did and become successful at it when they didn't even major in it or have really any kind of foundation there. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So I did engineering. I grew up with, I had 2 Arab American parents, and it was more like, you're going to do well in school, you're going to go to college, and then you're going to be, hopefully an engineer, a doctor, maybe a lawyer. Right, that was the thing, and we didn't grow up with very much. My parents were first generation to the United States, and so they definitely wanted a good life for me. So I was encouraged to follow in certain family members, my uncle's footsteps, and I naturally chose engineering. I thought that's what I wanted to do, and I did engineering, and I worked in engineering for 10 years. But during that time, it was like, hey, I don't actually like this, and that kind of exploring. Or trying to allow yourself to believe that, hey, I can actually do something I like was a foreign concept to me initially, I think credit to my wife. She kind of pushed me to be like, hey, why don't you try doing an MBA and see if anything can come of that? Maybe you can pivot into something else, consulting or whatever you want. But it was, and I did that. I went out and did an MBA. But the way that Carney Store came about to be was just that I love the barbecue. Like, it is my passion in life is to be out grilling, like outdoors, and entertaining people, like having adult beverage in hand.
Yeah.
And sun is setting and you're just good food, good friends, good people. That vibe is all I ever want in life. Like, it's my ideal weekend. Maybe like skydiving is for you. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. But So having moved to Dubai in 2008, I was like, it's hard to get good meat here, So I thought to myself, hey, what if I could start something where I would be a customer if it existed, And the way I was encouraged to do it, it's actually funny, is that I had a barbecue for my graduating class from my MBA at London Business School, and I made my world famous burger. Not really, but it's a burger that I've been working on for a long time. And then when people tasted it and they loved it, one of the guys was like, "Oh, you need to sell this. Like, you need to sell this." He's like, and he encouraged me. He's like, "No, I'll help you get funding. You need to do this somehow." And so I think that's kind of where it started. I was encouraged, and it went from there.
So, but to me, the crazy part is that sounds really scary because if you didn't really know much about the business and you were just kind of had a good idea, you're almost saying that the most key factor to creating a successful business is making sure that you absolutely fucking love what you do.
Well, not just that. I think there's a danger to that. There's a danger to a lot of the business books out there, right? Because they're just like, oh, take a risk. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You hear all these, these buzz cliches and stuff like that. Just do it. You won't regret. You will regret not trying. The cat posters I'm talking about, right?
Sure.
You will regret that. But there's a danger to that because I would think at least 70 to 80% of people are not suited for business, right?
Interesting.
You have to first, and I think, get that advice. Like, if you don't have your house in order, if you don't know how to manage your own finances, if you're not organized, there are certain things, they're just people that are not predisposed to the world of business.
Right.
They're not organized. They don't have an understanding of how finances work, or how capital works, or how debt structures work, or a lot of those things.
Did you have that?
So yes, I'm naturally a numbers guy,
Okay.
right? And
Just when we thought we could be friends.
no, I think we're both crazy. We'll get to that later.
The good stuff.
But yeah, we'll get to the good stuff later. But in terms of that, yes. So I always, a lot of people are just completely disorganized, and they have a passion for something. Hey, I'm Nyla, and I like making pies, say, or whatever it is. And so, and people around them tell them, hey, yeah, Nyla, you make the best pies. Your pies are sick. Your pies, the most badass pies I've ever had. So if you sold these pies, you would become rich. And that's kind of the fallacy, right? So you go out and sell these pies, and you're the only one who knows how to make them. And so you're tired, and you're working crazy hours, day and night, whatever. And, a few people come, your friends and family, but, you don't have time because you're making pies. You don't have time to go market it. You don't have the capital, you don't have, there's a lot more to it than just, I'm good at doing this.
Right. You can't be a one-man show.
No, you can't. And there's also an understanding of how to structure a business in terms of the finances of it. I think it's really sad when people put their life savings into a business and it fails for one of a plethora of reasons, and then they have to go beg for their corporate job back. I don't think there's anything more sad than that.
That's devastating. And you hear that story a lot. And I think because people want to be those risk takers, they want to be the Dans, and they try to, that's basically what goes to my next question is how do you know there's such a fine line between taking a risk and just doing too much too quickly, right? Because you're I want to be a risk taker. Does that mean I need to invest in my business and just go for it and just do it, throw all my energy into this idea? But then that also is a fine line because you could lose it all.
Yeah, it's not an exact science either. There's no yes. It's not a yes or no question. When I sit with people, I love to advise people who want to start businesses, and I always ask them a lot, of the questions that we went through in terms of being organized and having their house in order and understanding finance, things like that. But also, what is the idea? It's funny to me that a lot of people I talk to are just hey, I want to start a little supermarket in my neighborhood, or I want to start a barbershop because, there's no barbershop on that block, or it's just a Me Too business, or I want to start a little 7-Eleven corner sandwich. What are your USPs? What's your value add?
Right.
Do you have a blue ocean strategy, or is it just, doing the same copy paste as someone else, but maybe a little differently, or just in a different location?
And that's something you nailed, because for people who don't know what Carney Store is, they'll know after this, but it is unique. And the branding is awesome. And most importantly, the food is incredible. And you guys do have a certain touch that no one else has. Also, you have great quality that no one else has. I've tried it because that was actually how I found out. Before I actually met you guys and it got in touch or whatever, you're right. There was a gap to be filled in Dubai. There wasn't a Carney Store there, and we weren't just another store out there doing the same thing. So that's pretty special that you were able to do that and get it to where it is now. I want to know more about that fire in you. Is that from your Arabic parents? Because I know they traumatize us so much that we become so ambitious.
Oh man, I think we need a support group.
Everyone in Dubai will be on this support group because it's true. You just said it, right? You get pressured, for some reason, if you're not going to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or whatever, then you basically are you don't make sense. The major doesn't make sense to them. Do you think that's what fueled your fire?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to it too. I mean, when you come from a culture that has this underlying sense of importance towards dignity and respect and prestige, there's something about saying my son is a doctor, right? No Arab mother wants to say her son is a butcher, right? And that's kind of the way my parents looked at it. They're wait, you're leaving this engineering, this degree, you also did a master's to become a butcher? No, Mom, I'm not becoming a butcher. I'm starting a business.
Right.
Right. I am becoming a businessman. And I think to them, if I were to start a electromechanical something engineering business, it would be one thing. But going into something like this is completely different. And it's very foreign to them. They don't understand it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I remember my dad asking me, how are you going to compete with Carrefour? They're too big. And
I mean,
and are
in
you
a way,
going to have,
it's a valid
are you
question.
going to have lower prices? And anyone listening who doesn't know what Carrefour is, a European chain or like Walmart, say in the U.S., how would you compete with? I'm not competing with them.
A different
I'm
ballgame.
different, right? And e-commerce, and I think the e-commerce angle they didn't understand. So when I say blue ocean, it's that I want to do something that no one else is doing. I don't want to compete with anyone. I want to create something that's completely different. So I think that's why we decided from the very beginning, Fix, my partner, myself, that we were going to go online. So it was going to be an e-commerce business. You were only going to be able to buy the meat online. And so everyone who would talk to us was like, are you guys crazy? Like, who buys meat online? Who buys meat of all things? Especially here in Dubai, UAE.
Right.
In the US, we had like Omaha Steaks. There were a couple of people doing it, you know. It was mainly Omaha Steaks when I was there. But here, no one was doing that. So the idea just is like, no, people want to go. They want to choose their piece of meat behind a display, you know, be like that one. They want to tell the butcher what to do with it. No one's going to order it online. And that was universal feedback. That was universal feedback. So the idea of going online was a few things. First of all, we can gather a lot of customer data and we can retarget and advertise to our customers. There are unit economics. We can advertise online. Everything becomes easier. It's like a holistic way of capturing an audience online, but also is to save overheads. Like, you know, you don't want to, I know a lot of people, your listeners might not know the Dubai market, but I mean, you want to go open in like JBR or some Miras property or whatever, and you pay 2 million dirhams a year in rent. You know, you can't, you are destined to fail.
Right.
You are destined to fail.
Of course.
So keeping really low overheads allowed us to transfer that value back to our customers. Really good quality meat at a value, affordable price. And that's how we could do it.
Tell me about how you met Figs, your partner.
It's a funny story, actually, because both he and I had the same idea and we didn't know each other. So, and I had a separate business partner who wasn't really interested in the business, just had the money and was interested in my passion for it, right? And he had something very similar. And then we were going along, we had our business plans. And then in 2016, we're at a birthday party and someone introduces us and is like, hey, you guys need to talk. And we start talking and, you know, I'm like, I have this idea. He's like, I have this idea. I'm like, oh shit, someone else has my idea. I need to move quick or else he's going to start. And it was scary how similar the idea was. So over the months after that party, we met a few times, initially not knowing exactly what was going to happen. And then we just kind of threw it out there. Hey, why don't we just do this together? I mean, forget everyone else. Let's you and me do this together.
I love that. You collaborated instead of competed.
Yeah. We were, I like to use the word co-petitor. But
Co-petitor.
Then, we were frenemy, but we just,
You did
we
it.
came together and we merged. There were some differences in how we wanted to do things, but we kind of merged the concept together, the brand and everything. And then we started we started very cheap. So this is another interesting story. We found, you know, we didn't have a lot of savings. We were both engineers. We had young families. And so we dedicated a big chunk of our savings to it, but we were also looking for businesses that were going out of business, basically.
Okay.
So we just looked online, businesses up for sale, and we found a few that were really distressed. And so one of them, we were able to negotiate a deal, and we bought the whole business for pennies on the dollar. So that included all the equipment, the fit out, the license was already, everything was already there. So we weren't going to lose time. We weren't going to lose money with construction.
Right.
All those different things were gone. And actually, anyone listening, it was a big part of our MBA, was learning about these distressed assets and how to leverage distressed assets to actually make a business work. And so that's something I always advise people. It's like, no, don't go, buy a brand new commercial, whatever. And buy used, buy distressed. Distressed is better than used.
Yeah. I love that. Buy distressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what was your mindset like the whole time when you were starting up and just basically just had this idea and you just met your partner and you're starting this thing? Like, where was there fear?
Yeah, I was scared shitless. Like I was also just, you got to understand, someone who's been miserable in their career, I didn't know what it was like to be happy in a job, like, or enjoy what I'm doing for a living. And I was just so scared, like, that this wasn't going to work out. And then what? Like, am I going to have to get back on my knees and find another engineering job after being out of engineering and trying to start this up? It was just there. It was constant fear. It's like, I had to make it work. How
did you push back, against that fear? How did you jump over these like what ifs? They probably haunted you, right?
They did. I think the fear is what drove the success. It was like just drowning myself in the actual work. So thinking about every little detail, every minutia. I think a lot of people go on our website and they'll get it. Like we thought of a lot. We thought of different things. We kind of wanted to emulate the butcher experience online. So people can go online, they can select a cut of meat, and then they can have it rubbed or marinated the way they want. They can have it cut the way they want. They can have it's just so customizable. And I think the fear drove those late nights of just perfecting. And my partner Fix and myself, I can't tell you how many countless hours we spent on this website. Like, it was insane. It was our life. And it kind of became an obsession. I mean, you hear about people, someone sitting down and writing a symphony and not even having time to go to the bathroom or eat.
Yeah.
It became that.
Like
it just became that, utter pursuit of excellence or perfection.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. I think that if you want to do something well, you actually have to be obsessed with it. I don't know. I can't seem to, I've tried to start a business for selling jewelry before, and I did enjoy it, and it went well, but I realized after a while, I'm like, I'm not really obsessed with this. Like, it's not giving me any fulfillment. It's like,
Right.
Okay, great, whatever. Like, I can sell some cool jewelry, but I wasn't designing them, which took away a lot of the pleasure and validation of being like, this is mine. It was someone else was designing them. So I like that, because I think what you're saying is you have to be obsessed with what you're doing.
It certainly helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly helps. When you're obsessed with and you really love it,
yeah,
you're going to do well. You're going to do well.
What was the lowest moment you've had in your journey with Carnistore?
All right, I'll tell you. This is painful, but we started and we made no sales. Like, I don't want to say no sales. Mm-hmm. We had like basically sympathy orders from our friends and family. You know what I mean? It was like
sympathy
orders. But I'm like, okay, fine, no one knows us. And it went on for a while. We were growing very slowly. I'll tell you something that's funny. Do you talk in dirhams or dollars on the show?
Let's do dollars.
Okay. So basically, we had no way of delivering. So we hired out this van with a driver, chilled van with a driver, and it was really old because we would just search for the cheapest. So we basically paid, I want to say $3,000 a month, the first month, for that van and the driver to deliver our orders. And all our orders that month were $1,500. So just the van, I mean, forget everything else. Forget salaries, forget rent, forget all overheads. Just the car itself that would deliver the food cost double the orders that came in. And forget those $1,500 of orders, half of that was cost, right? So, I mean, the losses were insane.
Yeah.
And so, that first month I called my partner up. I'm like, here's the negative. Let's split here. Can you wire me that cash? And I'll put it in because, we need to make payroll and pay our rent and all that. And this went on.
How long?
This went on. So we opened that July, we put in money, August, September, October. Then November, we did well. Like, it was I think it was like the first month where I was like, wow, that's cool. That number looks cool to me. You know what I mean? And even though I think it was just about $23,000 or something like that, it was enough to pay our bills.
Right.
Right? It was enough to pay our bills. And that December was also enough to pay our bills. And I was like, okay, we're good. Inevitably, what happens in Dubai is summer comes back.
Oh, yes.
Right? So that May, June, July, it was like, okay, we're back in the red.
Oh,
And
God.
any little thing that we'd put away was gone again. And then we were back to putting in every month, that July, August, September. And I remember I'm like, this is the second, that was the lowest point. That September 2019, because we'd already been open for a year and 3 months, and I am still going to the bank every month and putting money from my savings into this business. And it's like, I'm not making a salary, but I'm making a negative salary. So that's even worse. So I think that was the low point.
What made you not give up?
I think at that point, first of all, it was like, okay, it's September, October, November, the good season's coming back. Dubai obviously cools down in the winter and it's coming back. Let's wait for this high season. But things are going to need to change. We're going to need a new angle. We're going to have to find a way to increase our revenues. It was scary and it was a low. Sure enough, though, I don't know if were you about to ask me about the turning point or no?
Yeah, I was. How did you know?
So
there was another turning point.
There was, and it was called COVID.
Oh, yes.
It was called COVID.
Yes.
So, I was telling you September 2019 was low.
Mm-hmm.
Then COVID hits. Then
people are like, I need meat and I need it now and in my house and delivered.
and let me go through a bit of the background. So COVID hit Dubai first, in terms of Dubai was one of the first places to lock down.
Yeah.
And it was the first to come out of it. We locked down in March 2020. The day the lockdown, we just tripled in revenue overnight.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like people had to, and then we couldn't cope with the demand. People were stuck at home. If you remember, Dubai for a while, you weren't allowed to go out. You were allowed to go out if you submitted something by text. Were you here at that point?
I wasn't in Dubai, no, but I heard.
You weren't in. Okay, so we had to send a text, and then you would get this permission that's like, okay, you can go, and it was only one person per family can go out and get something or whatever, And if you were caught and you didn't have that permission, right, you'd get fined.
Right.
So when that happened, that lockdown happened, it was like our business just went crazy and we couldn't cope. Even though we were promising that we could deliver same day, we were 8 days out because we had capped our orders. We were only able to do 100 orders a day.
Wow.
And this was like 8 days out. And it was just utter madness. So I'd never worked so hard in my life.
Wow.
Well, all my friends were stuck at home, work from home or whatever, with lots of wine.
Yeah, yeah.
I was basically,
you're like, I'm busy.
Yeah. So I was going in early morning, taking orders from the butcher, our head butcher, and cutting with him, and then doing some deliveries. And then, and it was 14-hour days. It was hell. And I would just get home totally wiped out. Not even the energy to make myself a meal or anything. I would get on like Deliveroo.
Yeah.
And I would get like, the highest calorie, greasiest meal that I could find and just gorge myself.
Right.
While I chugged some beers. That's basically that was life for me for that time. But that was a point I was like, okay, we've made it. We've made it.
Right. And that trained you now for what? I mean, because I know your website and now you deliver same day. And I'm like, how are they doing this? It's going to deliver. It's going to be here in 4 hours. That's great.
Yeah.
And you were saying you started from it being like 8 days out.
So now we started doing same day.
Okay.
But again, when we started the business, we were getting an average of 2 or 3 orders a day.
Yeah.
Right. So COVID, we went up to 100.
Wow.
And we just couldn't do that. Right. Now, of course, we have a bit of a fleet. We also have a third-party logistics company. So we have all this stuff. So we're able to deliver 300 orders, no issues in a day. But it wasn't like that. So it was just that was a point where we had to grow, and we had to grow fast. We migrated our website to a Shopify website, try to make everything a lot more user friendly, try to basically streamline everything in the business. But yeah, it's funny because whenever you read a book about anyone, about Bill Gates or anyone, any memoir, inevitably there's a part in the book that talks about them being lucky or blessed or whatever it is. They were in the right place at the right time, right? And that revolution was happening in, say, tech at that time. And because they were situated at that time, whoever it was, they were able to take advantage of it. And because we were online selling meat at that time, we were able to take advantage of it. No one else was selling premium meat online. It just wasn't happening at the time. Now everyone is. I mean, all of our competitors have gone in to the online game. But at the time, we were situated. We were in the right place, right time to take advantage and gain that incumbency advantage.
Amazing. So now we want you to give people advice, because people are going to listen to this and they're like, okay, entrepreneur, tell us about the mindset. How do I do it? The most questions that I actually ask is, how do I know if I should quit my job and do this and if I'm ever going to be good at it? So can you give us like some pillars on what you've learned from your experience that you could say have made you successful as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. First, I can answer that question in several ways. It depends a lot on what you're going to do, right? Someone who's, let's say, a consultant or a lawyer, okay, who wants to go off on their own and they know that clients would come with them, whatever, sure, quit your job and do it. If depending on, you have the personality, you have the wherewithal to actually stand up and do a business and the discipline, go ahead and quit your job and do it, because you don't have high overhead starting that business. You can get clients from, day one, and you're billing your hour out, right? You're billing your hour at whatever, $500 plus. It's not difficult. It's not life-altering to start. It's not a high CapEx, capital expenditure business. You can do it, right? Most businesses, however, are 3 years to revenue. That means 3 years into being able to break even and pay yourself. Can you do that? Can you stand on your own 2 feet and withstand 3 years of not paying yourself a salary? Can you really, for example, if you say you've got 3 years of savings, are you able to really buckle down and not travel and do staycations for the next 3 years? Would you kill yourself? There are so many questions to ask, but it's all about your mindset and your discipline. Like if you're living paycheck to paycheck, don't start a business.
Right.
Don't start a business. Straight up. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. No, but you gotta have a plan. If you're starting a business like mine, so I'll give my example. My business is a high CapEx business, because other than renting let's say a warehouse to set up shop, setting up offices, setting up a kitchen, doing all that stuff, you've got to stock. You've got to buy about $8,000-$10,000 worth of stock of meat at the beginning just to get going. And most of that is going to get thrown out because you don't have the customers to deal with it, right? So you've got to make so many mistakes at the beginning, lose a lot of money, and you really need to have some thick skin to just keep going.
Yep. Thick skin, obsession, discipline. Yeah. I'm loving this. Yeah. It's good. Emotional resilience, you strike me as very resilient. How? Because, well, you
I'm
haven't
emotional.
mentioned this. Are you?
So I'm I don't know, emotionally resilient in a way. I am emotional. I cry during Pixar movies, by the way.
Oh my God.
Full disclosure.
That's really sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Pixar movies are great.
They're so, I don't know why they do that to us. The ending always has that moment. I'm like, stop it.
I know.
No, but yeah, you do have to definitely have a resilience.
Right.
You have to be able to pick yourself up. Right. I think that's the big one, is like, you fall, you pick yourself up. You don't play victim. You don't feel sorry for yourself. you pick yourself up and you move forward and you don't look back. Like one of the big things is, oh, I look back with regret, or no, it's done. It happened. It's done. I'm moving forward. I'm learning from it. Like you got to have that mentality.
That's amazing. That's so hard to have. I mean, how do you know where you got that from? Somebody taught you that? Is there somebody who, did you have like a mentor or
I'll be honest,
a sensei?
my partner's a lot better than I am.
Okay.
And I think that's another thing that we need to talk about is whether you go on your own or whether you have a partner.
Yeah.
I think in most cases you need a partner. And I'm ADHD. I'm scattered. I lack focus. So it's good for me to have a partner
To ground you.
Who's a little more introverted than I am. He's more grounded. He's more focused. And he has a little more emotional discipline than I do. So that's important too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In what way? Are we talking about anger?
No.
Or sadness?
No. I'm not an angry person. Or maybe I am. I think I am deep down.
You created the smash burger. I mean, there must be some anger there.
Yeah. No, you gotta have ways to take it out. You know what I mean? But no, I don't show outward anger.
Right.
But I am very excitable.
Yeah.
And again, easily distractible. So I'll go with one thing or go with another thing. And I might leave a project halfway through just to, something that we're working on to go something else. And it's hard for me to finish things. I'm scattered. So no, my partner's not like that at all. But he's also, for him, he doesn't easily pivot because he's very focused. Right. So I think it's good to have a partnership where you balance each other out. That's important.
Yeah, you guys are really lucky because you balance each other out in that way, because I have ADHD and I'm like, I literally do 10% of 550 tasks every single day.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. And I'm like, how? It's crazy. Like for me to finish a task, it has to be like deadline. Like this needs to be done in 5 minutes and then I can finish it under pressure. Are you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a lot has to be on the line.
Yes. Yeah. Then
Like,
under pressure.
A lot has to be on the line. Yeah. And I think it's one thing that I've changed over time. Because I don't know if you've ever struggled with depression. I don't want us to take a too dark of a turn.
No, this is all we talk about, actually.
Okay.
The viral episode was all about depression.
Oh, really? Can we go down a rabbit hole?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I relate 100% to that.
Yeah. So my struggles with ADHD have oftentimes gotten me to self-sabotage. And I self-sabotage by procrastinating, by not doing the things that are good for me, by not eating the way I should eat, by not being active the way I should be active, by not, and I tried everything. I mean, I tried medication at one point,
Right.
And nothing works for me like discipline does. Like the gym is the greatest antidepressant of my life, and I don't know if for you, if that strikes a chord with what I'm saying in terms of.
Oh, it resonates with me so much. I tried medication as well, and I feel like being active or creative is the only medication, because with medicine there's always side effects, and the side effects were just kind of like bringing out other dark things that weren't working for me. And it was like there was highs and lows, which also is really bad for somebody with ADHD. And I couldn't really get on a straight path. The only way was to actually have like, okay, I go to the gym every day. But that took me like years to be able, even with skydiving, I used to be like, I'm going to go this Friday. And then I would change my mind and I'd hop on something else and get distracted. And the only time, and I love that you're saying this, I really, really resonate with this, because like the only time is when I've forced myself to have somewhat of a routine. And then it felt like, oh, the mind is kind of like now getting on this one lane. And it's not 100 anymore. Maybe now there's like 40 and now there's 20, right?
I think we're kindred spirits in that sense.
Yeah.
It's like actual forcing myself to feel pain in the morning.
Yeah.
It's like the best. You know that guy that make your bed guy?
Yeah.
You ever heard of this guy? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Admiral or Colonel, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and he's like, if you actually, instead of waking up, grabbing your phone and scrolling, right? Because you know that's doom scrolling. You're done. Like you pick
An
up,
hour,
you,
yeah.
yeah, and then you've sabotaged your entire day. I mean, all
Absolutely.
that stuff that you were gonna do. If you get up, for me, for a while, it was get up and get my ass into an ice bath.
Oh, straight, real pain. Not even
Like,
gym.
real pain.
Straight to the ice bath.
Yeah, real pain. And I'd read a lot about, you know, the way dopamine works in your body and the reward centers. And if you start your day with something painful, right, it kind of balances you out. And that, like the make your bed guy says, it leads to other tasks being done.
Absolutely.
I found that when I woke up and automatically had discipline, those were the best, most productive, happiest days for
It
me.
paints the picture for the rest of the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, and scientifically, it puts your serotonin levels on a very healthy in a very healthy place, oxytocin as well, and it was brilliant. So I think I learned that the hard way, and I definitely went through, you know, a dark night of the soul period before discovering that. And you know, if I could go back and tell myself a lot of these things, I wouldn't be able to stress hard enough the importance of forcing yourself to start your day early and start it with something you don't want to do.
I love that so much. And it's so hard, Dan. It's so hard. Honestly, I was on Adderall for like 5 years.
How is Adderall?
It's like, well, it makes you super focused, but the side effects for me were severe depression.
Seriously?
Like severe. So like the whole day I'd be productive, which fuels my soul. I love being productive. Like if
Yeah.
I can do 100 things I wish, you know, I want to maximize the time of the day. Anyway, by the end of the day, it would just be like severe depression. And I used to start to have like just really, really low moments that are like obviously fueled by Adderall because I never had it before. And I've been through a lot in my childhood. So I'm like, this is weird. This is now creeping up. I'm 26. Like, what's going on? So I stopped. Yeah. And I don't want to say come down because the healing or recovery from taking ADHD medication was just as long. Like
Yeah.
it took so long.
Yeah, it's the same for me with Zoloft.
Yeah.
It was crazy coming off. It was like, and coming off it was the most depressing part.
Yes.
I had insomnia too, and then man, these medications,
muscle
it's like
spasms.
all of it. It's like
Yeah.
we weren't meant to take this stuff. We weren't meant. I've always been curious about Adderall because you know what I always think to myself, like, what if I could just focus?
Yeah.
What if I could just, you know that what's that movie where he takes a pill and
Limitless.
Limitless.
I love that movie.
Oh, it's so good.
I
because
love that movie.
I just watch it and I project.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I just sit there and project. And I don't think 6 months goes by where I don't think about some of those scenes where it's just like it goes into his pupil, you know, and he's like, he can just see everything.
So smart. And he's a numbers guy like you.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you what, there's so much truth to that movie because it's exactly like they have show. I mean, maybe not as bad, but it just depends on your dosage. But I remember Bradley Cooper in one of the scenes where he was like eyes bloodshot, pale skin, hair, you know, messy. He looks like shit, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, I literally look like that every night at 9 p.m. after my dosage had like started to run its course and now I needed to sleep. And
That
it was
sounds like cocaine, doesn't it?
it sounds like it is. It's methamphetamine. It's methamphetamine salts, which is basically crack. And it's like, oh, but it's good for you if you have ADHD because your brain runs differently. So you need chemicals that do the opposite to other people. I'm like, yeah, but I'm wired. So I'm wondering if I was misdiagnosed. But I felt like shit for so long. And for me to be able to even get myself to be motivated enough to even start posting again or jumping again or going and doing shoots or going on jobs, like people would offer me jobs and I'd be like, I'm just not good enough. I'm just gonna stay back, hang back. Then I take the Adderall pill and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm focused. I'm gone. And then it's like a complete swing of emotions. And one thing I do remember was there is no way I could have handled failure. If I failed at something minor, it felt like the world has ended.
While you were on the high of the Adderall or when you were coming down or just in general?
In that stage.
Okay.
On it. like now I can talk myself through it and I could be like, look, exactly what you said about Carney story. You're like, look, this happens. We got to just get up. Can't think about it. Got to move on. That self-motivating kind of pep talk, no power in my mind to even start that. Like there was just like berating and self-deprecation.
Yeah. Yeah. But how much of that do you think is because you never unpacked your past with a counselor or
That's very interesting to say that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I hadn't gone to therapy yet, and I probably started to just medicate the shallow, part of the ocean and wasn't really going deep. So maybe a lot of it was creeping up and I didn't know that it was that. But after coming off of it, then I had to heal and understand my mindset. I didn't even know what kind of mindset I had because I was just like medicated. And this is the downside of living in America because they're just like, put a pill in it. You're good.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, I want to feel my feelings. Like if I'm depressed now and I stopped taking Zoloft, because after that I went on Zoloft and it's like, oh. And then when I stopped taking it, insomnia, couldn't sleep, twitching, all this stuff. Sorry, I totally hijacked your story.
No, it's I love it. Same thing.
Yeah. And then the depression was heavy, the flashbacks, the nightmares. My God, I thought I was a psychopath. I was like, why am I dreaming about serial killers? This is crazy. I don't even watch that shit. Like, what is my brain doing? It was dark. And then now I'm off of that. And I'm realizing, holy shit, all I've had to do this whole entire time is just sit with my feelings, sit with the darkness, sit with my trauma and be like, oh, I'm feeling something right now and I'm very uncomfortable and I don't like the setting. And instead of me going and getting a beer or yes, I love beer. I'm such a guy.
Oh, man.
I drink beer like a
we should
truck
hang more.
driver. And that was my thing, like get a beer, take it out or whatever. It was like constantly covering shit up and just putting it under the rug and just kind of, burying it and walking away.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, damn, I feel uncomfortable right now. I'm having a little bit of social anxiety. Like when I was doing the video with you guys at Carney Store, I walked in and it's like, you guys are all chefs. And I'm like, he has black gloves on. I've never worn black gloves. He has a knife. What is going on? And it was like, my brain was like, you can't do this. You don't belong here. Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You have it bad too?
Yes, so bad.
Man. Oh.
But I had to just be like, I actually told you. And I was like, and I usually wouldn't voice it. And I was like, damn, I'm really nervous. I feel like I'm going to fuck this up. You're like, why? We're making a sandwich. Calm down.
Seriously. No. You kicked ass though. It was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. But it is literally sitting in the uncomfortableness, the discomfort.
Yeah.
When you're just nothing should be in your system. I feel like if you can and you're not like you don't have a psychotic disorder, I think you should sit in your sadness for a little bit and understand what it is.
I totally agree with that. Have you read anything about like IFS, internal family systems, or any of that?
No.
Okay, I'll
Tell
give you a
me.
book
No,
after.
I want to know.
So it's basically like, have you ever watched this movie called Inside Out?
No.
It's a Pixar movie. You got to see it.
I love this.
We should get
super Pixar
cool
to sponsor this.
Yeah. It's a Pixar Disney. Yeah, seriously. It's like I am sponsored
Inside
by
Out.
them. No, but it's basically it goes into everyone's head. So the main characters in their head, they have little characters. One is called fear. One is called joy. One is called sadness.
Yeah.
And they all basically tug, and try to get you to act in certain ways. Like so your little fear guy in your head is basically trying to protect you when you're a kid from tripping over and grazing your knee, or and when you're older, trying to protect you from the pain of a relationship that might be harmful or whatever it is. So it's very accurate portrayal of, in psychology, there's these internal family systems where there's a great book called No Bad Parts. I would recommend you read it, but it kind of puts that into perspective about how these little people that we have in our head, they are like
voices,
little voices.
People, yeah.
And what you're saying, because what you're saying is a big part of IFS, what you're saying about sitting with your feelings is actually you should talk to, your different personalities that you have. You should sit
100%.
there and talk
and
be like, it's okay, Nyla.
Yeah.
It's okay. This is your fear.
Yeah.
I address it.
Yeah.
But we're going to be fine. And just sitting there and doing that, again, instead of scrolling or
covering
masking
it all up.
or escaping. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm an escape artist.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I want to escape pain like no one's business.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. So,
And then
yeah,
you find out like the deep roots of why these voices exist. And you're like, that's my mom. That's my dad.
Yep.
That was that was that piece of shit that bullied me in school. All of these people are still living in your head rent free. And you got to go in there and just like scoop them up.
you gotta get him the hell out of there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even all of the most embarrassing moments of your life, right? Or little traumas or big traumas, right? They do live in there. And so, yeah, it is important. But to be honest with you, the imposter syndrome is what drives us to succeed as well. There's a flip side to it. There is that you're not good enough makes you
Want to
kind
be good
of
enough.
be like, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Like, I don't care. My back's to the wall, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna prove you wrong.
I love this. You are so motivating. You should write a book. Honestly, you are. I like it because we're similar, and it gives me hope. Because if I listened to you in this exact episode 10 years ago, or when I was on that crazy fucking journey, I'd have been like, this guy, he probably has it all or whatever. And now I'm meeting you, and I'm like, no, like you use your pain to grow and get better and succeed by being like, okay, this happened to me. I'm stronger now. I'm pushing past it rather than just dwelling on it.
You need adversity.
Yeah.
Like, you need adversity. I love your TED Talk.
Thank you.
Because it's all about that adversity. Like, no one who sees you, like, I don't know if everyone can see, but no one who sees Nyla can see the pain.
No.
Like, what you went through with your daughter and the life that you've made now. It's an incredible story.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
incredible.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I had like this whole like thing I wanted to ask you, but see, I told you time was just going to run out.
Time has flown, hasn't it?
It has flown, and now we have like 2 minutes left, but I'm going to end it with just one question. And yeah, give me just one thing, one advice for entrepreneurs out there that are wanting to start a business and feel like they're just not good enough. So just recap.
I would say find someone, I don't want to say someone like me, find a successful business person and get some of their time, right? Sit with them and go through point by point, go through your business plan. Okay. And I would say from my side, please, please, please do not put everything into this. There are risks. And just because I succeeded, it doesn't mean that I would have succeeded if I had done this in another geography or another time or whatever it is. There are a lot of facets at play. So don't put all your savings into something. Don't just quit a good job, on a whim because you're tired of it and you want to start something. Start slow. Find a smart way to buy a distressed asset if you can, and seek all the advice you can from any good mentors who have succeeded in business before you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on to my podcast. It was such an honor.
Nyla,
honestly.
it's been a real pleasure.
I appreciate
Thanks for having
it.
me.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, guys. See you next week.